from David Marschke. David is a tax partner at the Business and Revenue Group of McCulloch Robertson. He's a specialist tax advisor, being a qualified lawyer as well as a chartered accountant. I think that combination gives him a lot of insights to provide practical and implementable advice. His background enables him to provide high-level technical advice while appropriately dealing with practical and commercial considerations. He specialises in tax-effective structuring and restructuring that ensures, where possible, access to concessions like CGT rollovers. He's got extensive experience in advising on tax issues for structures. By the way, please, as a courtesy for David as well as for other delegates, please make sure your phones are at least on silent. And with no further ado, welcome to David.
Thanks, Paul. Now I'm just trying, there's a timer here that's not working. Okay, well, thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for coming along this afternoon. Some would argue this is a bit of the graveyard session in the lead up to the big convention dinner, so I hope you'll bear with me for this hour before you have a break and a relax and a nice feed tonight. For those that aren't from Brisbane, I until recently used to live very near the dinner venue, and as you're looking down on over the golf course, you might just try and imagine that the entire golf course was covered in water in January. So it's been quite a reconstruction around that area there as well as part of our floods in January. Some people have been asking me what I'm talking about. It's kind of really is about tax and divorce, but we'll call it the family breakdowns. And I guess to set some context, it's a funny area in the sense that no one really wants to advise on it, but you end up advising out of necessity, I suppose. And the reason for that is probably because of the types of statistics that Australia and the Western world generally is seeing in relation to marriage breakdown. So according to the ABS stats, that it peaked back in 2001, and we've had a slight fall off in the level of divorces. Now, I actually tried to find out what were the level of breakdown of de facto relationships that were not necessarily reflected as formal marriages, and that's there's not a lot of stats on that yet, but I understand they're starting to develop stats on that because more and more law, tax, family law, etc. recognises the de facto relationship. What I think causes advisors the issues is the fact that when you look at the median age at divorce that was 2007, we're talking about males at near enough to 44 and females at 41. And as you would appreciate, that kind of results in there being a reasonable level of assets and often some fairly complicated family and business affairs that have been put in place by the time people are reaching that age. But bear in mind, that's a median age, so you are, and I am seeing, and I'm sure many in the room are seeing, divorces in late 40s, early 50s with semi-adult children and second divorces with tiers of property and what have you, and children from different marriages and things like that. So you've got a myriad of complication that we're kind of confronting. Again, my experience, and many in the room may have this, that when your clients come to you saying, I'm getting divorced and I've got to go through this exercise, the last thing that's often on their minds is the whole tax issues. And the difference between getting what you think you're going to get in the hand and not is having regard to some of the tax issues that we're going to talk about as we work through this session. Okay, I need to emphasise I'm not a family lawyer, and I've never actually practiced in family law. I'm a taxation lawyer and a taxation accountant, I suppose. And further, my firm doesn't actually practice. McCulloch's is not a family law firm. However, I have had extensive experience which derives, I guess, from assisting accountants assisting their clients in the context of marriage breakdown. And that is, it's really about, and we'll talk a bit more about the framework, because the framework of the Family Law Act and what it seeks to achieve is, I guess, an equitable property split as between the parties to the marriage. And that's done by having regard to the property of the marriage, what they call the financial resources of the persons to the marriage. But often it can be said that if appropriate regard is not had to the tax outcomes of the court orders and the